Hi there, good afternoon. Welcome to the Masterclass. My name is Daryl Kwawu, in for Yao who is away for a couple of weeks. So you have to make do with me for some time. Well, it's a brand new month. We have an exciting topic to discuss this afternoon. And I have in studio with me our facilitator for this month, Martin Atta-Fynn, CEO of Afri Consult. I'll make him tell you a bit more about himself before we begin the discussion. But we are going to be talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion at the workplace. Why should businesses strive for more diversity and inclusion in the workplace? What systems can be put in place? How is that beneficial for businesses? Interesting topic and very critical, especially in our times, if you've been monitoring the news recently. And so I want to welcome you, Martin Atta-Fynn, to our studio, CEO of Afri Consult. Yes. Tell us a bit more about yourself. I'm sure our audience is eager to know who you are.
Oh, okay. I don't think there's much to tell, but I started my career as in a technology company called NCS, and then I moved out to Deloitte and Touche. I spent almost 25 years with Deloitte.
Oh.
And then I left Deloitte and started out my own consulting firm, which is Afri Consult.
Oh, great.
Pretty much doing same as what I was doing with Deloitte.
Yeah, so, I mean, you have 25 years of work experience in an organization. So when it comes to a topic such as diversity, equality, and equity and inclusion, you have a fair idea. I mean, how, for instance, how corporate institutions have evolved over time to ensure that this is incorporated in the workspace. And so, before you start, tell us why this topic is important.
Okay, so let me pick it up from where you talked about the fact that I've been in one firm for almost 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have experienced the pluses and minuses of DEI, even just working in one workplace.
Mm-hmm.
And not apart from that, I did not work in Deloitte only in Ghana. I've worked in Lagos. I've worked in East Africa, Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda. And so I know how it feels like when we talk about diversity. I know how it feels like when we talk about if there's no equity or if you don't feel included in whatever
Mm-hmm.
is going on. So basically, that is why one of the reasons why it's become a passion topic for me.
Right. Right, and well, if you're listening, you have experiences to share, I'll be happy to hear about them as well as the program goes on. So you're going to start off with the penguin story, right?
Absolutely.
Tell us about it.
Okay, so this penguin story hopefully will help us appreciate diversity as we talk about, and it's adapted from a book by B.J. Gallagher,
Mm-hmm.
Hartley, and Warren H. Smith. Okay, so here it goes. It says that, look, once upon a time, in a not so distant past, when penguins ruled many lands in the sea of organizations. Okay, so these penguins were not always wise. They were not always popular, but they were always in charge. The top management wore the same outlook in their distinctive black and white suits. And now I think baby boomers, a generation before, will understand the period where people went to work in black and white
Black
suits
and white.
all the time. They believe that uniformity is the way to do things. Uniformity is unity. On the other hand, there were worker bets
Mm-hmm.
who were more colorful and more colorful outfits. They reflected their work and their lifestyles. Okay, bets who aspired to move up the corporate ladder were encouraged to adopt the penguin's code of conduct and wear the penguin suits. And they learned the penguin stride, and they followed the example of the leaders. So everyone had to look and behave in the same way. Then one day, Perry the peacock, joined the land of penguins. He was loud, he was colorful, and full of ideas. Although he was different, the penguins were impressed by his new ideas. They felt that this is a real penguin potential. So that means eventually he'll become like a penguin.
But how does he become like one, seeing he's different?
Exactly. Okay. So initially everyone was happy. The penguins were pleased with their new recruit. Perry was creative, and they started getting results because of his innovation, because of his creativity. But however, after some time passed, the penguins began to murmur against Perry. He was too loud, he was too known, he was too colorful, and he had too many ideas, and he thought he knew too much, and he intruded in the penguins' comfort zone. So Perry was also unhappy, and they tried to turn him into a penguin. He was told to try to be like the rest of us, wear a penguin suit, but both parties were unhappy. We see this story unfold in many organizations. Creativity and innovation are seen to be a breath of fresh air in many organizations. There are many Perrys are recruited for their creativity, yet along the way, their creativity is stifled by the need to conform to the norm. And so there always will be penguins and peacocks in organizations. Other than penguins and peacocks, there are pigeons who are peacemakers in the office. There are sparrows who try to be neutral so as to keep a low profile. And there are ostriches who choose to bury their heads in the sand. Peacocks bring varieties and new ideas, but the stability provided by the penguins must not be ignored.
I was hoping to hear what happened to Perry at the end of the day.
Okay.
How did he navigate that?
Okay, just hang in there. You hear that as well. So penguins, being the backbone of the organization, need to recognize that diversity can exist in an organization if there is acceptance and trust. Okay, so when we learn to appreciate one another's differences, we become more willing to listen, more open to new ideas, and more eager to grow. Birds of different feathers can work together. Now to what you wanted to hear about Perry. Okay, I'm not saying I'm Perry, but I worked in an organization that was a professional services firm.
Okay.
We needed to look and dress in a certain way. About 80% of the professional services, the members of the firm were all chartered accountants. And so obviously when you're a chartered accountant, when they are speaking and they're speaking their language, you find that you're not really part of it. We did what do you call it? Personality profile called Myers-Briggs type indicator. And when we did it, most of the auditors fell in one corner, and most of the consultants fell in another corner. Yeah, and you always see the struggle between the Perrys and then the penguins there, because the accountants were principled in a certain way. The auditors the professionals the consultants like to be free, like to be innovative and do creative things.
I guess accountants are calculated in everything they do,
they
right?
are calculated. So there was sometimes we work very well, but there was sometimes the clash. But then when we managed to harness the strength from the different diversities, it gives us even a lot more to do. I mean, it opens us up to more profitability. But what happened? As I stayed in for so long, the more I did the Myers-Briggs type indicator, the more I saw that my indicators were shifting towards the the accountant style, because I had to kind of start conforming to the way things work. So guess what? What it means is that your innovation and creativity will now become just like what everybody else has. Then what's the use? The important thing is for you to be able to bring out yours, they bring out theirs, put it together, and then you get the double whammy of that.
Well, nice story to begin with. Thank you so much for the penguin story. And so we're going to try to break them down.
Absolutely.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion. You realize that during my intro, I nearly said equality. So I'd like for you to also point out when we get there the difference between equity and equality in the workplace.
Absolutely.
But first, diversity.
Okay, great. So, well, let's start from DEI is what is being bounded around DEI. So, like you said, DEI is diversity, equity, and inclusion. And it's basically, in a workplace, it's basically for you to integrate in your policies or practice a practice which is designed to make people of various backgrounds feel welcome. Diversity we cannot avoid because of global mobility, because of us working in a global village. Even if you're working here, you could be working with another Indian somewhere else, or you could actually be moved to another place. But even within our Ghanaian context, within the organization, there's a lot of diversity. So the whole idea is to ensure that if those in the minority, the less represented ones, will have support to perform at their fullest in the workplace.
And not to catch you, I mean, if you're a business owner, an entrepreneur, if you're starting a business, at a point you're going to have to employ people.
Absolutely.
And most entrepreneurs are also aiming to be multinational. So this topic is very important if you're wondering why we are discussing it, because at some point you have to employ people and you have to consider the minorities in society. Please take it away.
Great. So DEI is a term used to describe policies and programs that promote representation and participation of different groups and individuals. Different groups. So you can look at it from different perspectives. You can look at it from ages, races, ethnicities, abilities, disabilities, genders, religions, and cultures. So if you just pick all of these dimensions, you'll find that within one organization, you have differences, all of these differences in there, but who is thinking of making sure we can take advantage of all of that? And that is where the DEI policy comes in.
All right.
Yeah. So you were asking me to speak to diversity. Good. In the first place, in a nutshell, with what we are talking about, diversity is when everyone is invited to and welcome at the party. Let's say we are going to have a party. Everyone can be there. Then when we look at equity, it means for us to have the party work the way it will and all of us to enjoy, everyone has to put their hand on deck. So everybody will participate to make sure it's a big bash. And then inclusion is when everyone is fully engaged, dancing, eating, talking together. So you can look at it as that picture.
Okay. For those taking notes, diversity is everybody invited to the party.
Yes.
Equity, every hand on deck
has the chance to help.
Everybody
to plan
has a chance
party.
to help to plan the party.
Yes.
Inclusion,
everyone is fully engaged, being part of the party, talking, eating, laughing together, dancing, at the party. So everybody has participated in making this work, and everybody is enjoying out of it, so to speak.
Great.
Okay. So to break it down, when you look at diversity by itself, it involves all the ways that people are different, including the various characteristics that distinguish everyone, the different demographics. So earlier on, I mentioned, age. Within an organization, you can have different diverse ages because of the different generational gaps. The baby boomers, Generation Y, Gen Zs are all in there. They all think differently. One solution, they could come with different options. But if those at the top are of a certain age group and would not allow that thinking to come in, then they get frustrated. Then you also don't get the benefit of, the abilities that come from that age. Yeah. So it refers to all aspects. Race, ethnicity, creed, color, sex, gender, socioeconomic status, language, culture, national origin, religion, spirituality, age, ability, disability, political perspective. And
that's an interesting one.
Yes, and other preferences that people may have. So you see how vast the whole concept of diversity could be. But we should be all welcoming to be able to take advantage of all of that.
I see. Just a quick question. So how is diversity perhaps different from affirmative action or equal employment opportunity?
Great. So that leads us to the next topic, which is equity. Because first we want to recognize the diversity. If because people did not recognize that we are diverse and we come from different angles, that is why some representations are marginalized. So as soon as that is recognized, then you want to do something to make sure that they feel part of the process. So that is when sometimes we go to equal employment, we go to affirmative action and stuff like that. The difference here is the fact that if you focus on affirmative action, we want women to do this, then you start beginning to sideline the men. Right? These days, people have been complaining about the fact that there's too much focus on the girl child, the boy child is suffering. But if you are thinking of making sure both have the same kind of are responding to the same kind of solutions we are giving them, then there has to be equity. Okay. The difference between equity and equality, is that, for example, say, Daryl, you have your second degree, you've been working for 5 years, and then you come into an organization. And then I have a diploma, I've been working for only 2 years, I have less experience, I come in, but then they decide to pay you 15,000 Ghana cedis and pay me 15,000 Ghana cedis. That is equality. But there's no equity. So equity has to be related to, your, in this case, your degree, your experience, and then the abilities that you are bringing to the organization.
Yeah, because there are some instances I've heard in the news where women who occupy the same position as men are not paid the same salary. And that becomes a problem.
That's a problem.
And then the women feel it's because I'm a woman. Even though I have the same qualifications, I'm not getting the same salary.
So then they say that there's no equity there, and it's also because the people are already biased against the woman. So it has to be the same. I mean, if they have the same qualifications, same experience, why not? So equality implies treating everyone as if their experiences are exactly the same, but they may not be the same. But if you have to be equitable, it means acknowledging and addressing even those structural inequalities. And that gives some an advantage and some disadvantage. Because if you only have a diploma and you work for 2 years, you cannot be able to deliver at the same level as someone who has a master's degree and has got 10 years experience.
Well, it doesn't matter if they are given the same results, for instance.
If they are given the same results, it will prove. But you see, when you are coming in at entry level, before you even come into an organization, they'll say, well, this role, we need somebody who has a minimum of the master's degree and a minimum of 10 years experience. This role, below that, if you have a diploma, you can come in with a few years of experience, you can come in and learn. But if you have come in and you have learned and you have built an experience, then the experience will now be able to match somebody else who probably has a higher degree.
Yeah, because I see now employers don't really focus on the qualifications, but the results that the person brings in, and that could be problematic if, for instance, two people are applying for a job and one, has the qualifications, the other doesn't.
Yeah, but these days, when you're applying for a job, in fact, the CVs are sorted using a computer. So if they are requesting for a master's degree, the computer will only see that you don't have one. So you might not even get a chance to access, But then also, when you have a DI policy, you can even have indicate that, look, with regards to access, it doesn't matter. What we want in our organization as part of our policy is to see if the person can do it. So forget about all of these degrees. Let them come in, let's speak to them, and then according to that, we can measure the level of equity we provide for them.
Okay. Is that all we need to know about equity?
In fact, that is mainly what we need to know about equity, because the whole idea is that not to focus on equality and then disadvantage other people. So equal treatment results in equity only if everyone starts with equal access to the opportunities.
Right. And so that takes us to the next one, which is
inclusion.
Inclusion.
Yes. So inclusion refers to an organization where the workforce everyone feels respected everyone has a sense of belonging, so I can see that I am included. In fact, what we say is that the only way to understand inclusion is when you are excluded. That for some reason. So you realize that, is it because I'm too short, or is it because the women will say, is it because I'm a woman? Then you feel that there's no inclusion in this space. So basically, the whole idea is after you have appreciated diversity, and then you are working towards making sure there's equity, then you also have to work towards making sure that people feel included and are all happy within the organization. While diversity is essential, it might not be sufficient. And the institution can be both diverse and non-inclusive at the same time. Because, yes, we want to have different tribes in the organization. We want to have different generations of people in the organization. We want to have, people with different skills. So there are diverse people there. But at the same time, the penguins are shutting out the peacocks.
So is inclusion just about showing respect for everybody in an organization, no matter their position in the organization? Is that what it is?
Yeah, but showing respect should come with how everyone not just behaves with everyone, but even how the policies operate in an organization. For example, if there are people with disabilities in your organization and you don't have the access way for them to come through, then you actually are not even thinking about them. It could be diverse, but you have not created the level of access for them to be there. You have women working in the organization, and your policies does not allow the flexibility for when a pregnancy comes in and when they have to go to hospital and all of that kind of thing. It makes things difficult. Do you want to consider flexi hours because of that, etc., etc.? And shouldn't even be held against them because they have to be away or work from home. Those kind of things. So you could respect, the person, but your policies are not actually respecting the person.
Wow, that's interesting. So that's a breakdown of what DEI is: diversity, equity, and inclusion. Just in case you didn't get the explanation, Martin tried to paint a scenario which I think makes you understand it better, which is that diversity is when what?
So diversity is when you, let me put it this way, diversity is about differences.
Yeah. No, I just wanted us to rehash the scenario painted about people being invited to a party.
Okay.
So
diversity is when you invite everyone to the party.
Everybody is invited to the party.
Everyone is invited to the party. Yeah.
And inclusion, all hands on deck.
Inclusion is all, equity is making sure everyone... Yeah, making sure everyone participates in making planning towards the party and making it work.
And then inclusion.
And then inclusion is when everyone is excited and being part of the excitement that comes out of having a party.
Yeah.
Dancing and acting and eating and everything.
So I think that picture makes us understand what DEI is. So what is the biggest advice for you for anybody who's just getting started with DEI in their institution?
The biggest advice for an institution will obviously be for you to recognize the different dimensions of diversity in an organization. And if you look at the organization, you have to appreciate the fact that people are different, people are diverse, and then see how best you can integrate it into your HR policies, so that with that you build in things that will make sure that people have a voice at the table, things that will make sure that people can speak without barriers at the table, and then that will be equity. And then even the critical part is the fact that they feel that they belong to the organization, because you could be part of the organization, but you don't feel like you belong
to it.
Yes. And what do they say? They say home is not where we live. Home is where we belong. So people will feel like they belong to the organization because they know the organization thinks about them in all 360 aspects of their working there.
Yeah, we started by talking about the importance of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so, what are the implications, for instance, for an institution if that is not properly incorporated?
Well, if it's not properly incorporated, I think you'll be in the first place. You may be missing some parts of or the value that you get from a diverse organization, because you actually get strength from a diverse organization rather than be the loser out of it. Look at the penguin and the peacock story.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, the peacock will.
You sure you're not Perry?
That's why I said I put out a disclaimer. So you realize that the strength of the organization might not be harnessed if the peacock is not providing the kinds of, because the peacock got unhappy and it was not providing the kind of results that they used to get when the peacock came in. So all the ideas, the innovation can be bottled up. So you cannot get the strength that you get, the ideas that you get, if you don't take advantage of that diverse organization. Now, if there's no sense of belonging, then that's when you find people working at the rate 8 to 5 o'clock, I'm gone, even if there's a major deliverable to because I don't feel I'm part of this. Yeah. After all, when the profits come, I'm not part of this. After all, we are the ones working for others to enjoy, that kind of thing. So then they just see the job as see what they are doing as a job and not as a career. So they don't put themselves in. So if you're able to build all of this, in fact, what we say is, if you're able to build alignment, then you can be sure that everybody is in tow. So alignment is when diversity is present, and when inclusion is practiced. So inclusion has to be practiced, and then when belonging is prioritized. So belonging has to be prioritized. You need to think of how you make everybody else feel like they are part of the party.
Great stuff. You're listening to Masterclass, brought to you by Gwel Yanara Yandia. Gwel, good energy. Gwel Yanara Yandia. We'll be taking a break shortly. When we come back, we'll do a few questions, and if there's more for you to share, you can share with us. I would also love to hear people's experiences as well within the workplace. And so if you're not getting results from your employees, probably it's because your workforce is not diverse enough, there's no equity, and people don't feel a sense of belonging. They don't feel included. And so these are some of the things you have to think about in assessing productivity in the workplace, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So Martin will be back with answers to some of your questions, and I'm sure he has so much on his laptop he can share with us at this point after this break.
Your favorite on-air business development program, Joy Business Masterclass, is in session, and you can interact with us on Facebook via the Joy 99.7 FM or Joy Business pages. If you tweet, the handle is at Joy 997 FM or at Joy Business GH. Don't forget to hashtag JB Masterclass. You can also call us on 0302 216541 or send your questions and contributions through to the WhatsApp number 0551 111997, and our facilitators will address your concerns. Attention everyone, class is in progress.
Class is definitely in progress. You're listening to the Masterclass on Joy 99.7 FM. Hope you're taking some notes, and hope today's discussion is helpful. We are talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion in the workplace. If you're listening, you have any questions or some experiences to share based on your working experience, you can send us a text. I think I may have lost some of the numbers in the text now. Abik will help me shortly. But 0302216541, 0302216541 is the call line. You can give us a call if you have any questions, and I'll get the text line right back to you. Abiku is going to help me. Abiku, are you looking at me? So 055 11 11 997. So 055 11 11 997. If you have any text or WhatsApp us if you have any questions, experiences to share. Remember that the masterclass is brought to you by Gwell, Good Energy, Gwell, Yanara, India. What do you do when you run out of fuel in your vehicle? Do you just top up anywhere? Don't do that. Let's introduce you to the Good Energy family and why you must be part. Gwell Super XP 195 and Diesel XP are the best quality fuels with high performance in town for your vehicle. Gwell Super XP 195 is a high grade fuel sold at the same prices as normal fuel. Gwell Diesel XP is low in sulfur, making it eco-friendly option for your vehicle. With over 440 stations across the nation, join the family that rewards you with quality for an energized driving experience. Gwell Good Energy, Gwell, Yanara, India. Also, excited to tell you about the 2023 edition of the EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair. It starts with the first clinic. That's on the Friday, 7th of July. To Sunday, 9th of July. So it's this weekend from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. daily. Venue is at Chimota Mall, time 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. daily. This year's exhibition is under the theme Home Ownership, Affordability, Comfort, or Luxury. Visit the clinic and engage the providers in the housing value chain on all your housing needs, be it financing, land acquisition, rent to own, outright purchase, roofing, lighting, electronic appliances, home security, or home furnishing. The EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair is your one-stop shop for everything housing. For exhibition, please call 054-011-0389 or 0244-260-653. There will be daily giveaways by the sponsors to visitors at the fair. That sounds exciting. The EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair 2023 is in partnership with EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank, and powered by the Planned City Extension Projects from Cities and Habitats, and sponsored by Elegant Homes and General Constructions Limited, where quality meets value, Virtual Security Africa, Complete Security Solution, DBS Roofing, your roofing experts, Syntex Tanks, Air Strong, Air Tough, the EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair, affordability, comfort, or luxury. And so there you go. If you have any questions, experiences to share, 055 1111997 is a WhatsApp line, or call 0302 216 541. And so back to our discussion on diversity, equity, and inclusion. I have in studio with me Martin Atta-Fynn, who is CEO of Afri Consult, who has been sharing some insights with us. I enjoyed the penguin story, even though you claim you are not the Perry in that story. So how do you get the entire company, including the leadership team, on board with DEI initiatives, do you think?
Okay. In order to do that, I keep saying first you need to recognize that it exists. So you have to probably look at the different dimensions of diversity and inclusion. So someone in the HR team, someone in the leadership team should together want to look at how are we broken down in this organization. There's the primary dimension, there's the secondary. You can look at the workplace dimension, you can look at different styles. So much to be listed: physical ability, race, ethnicity, gender, education, class, and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. Then you, so far as you find that all of this exists, you have to start, on an awareness campaign. So more or less, you may want to even do a quick survey to find out how people feel about being diverse, how people feel about being included, how people feel about belonging. When you have that survey, then you can use the survey to now start working at resolving them one by one. But that's when you find that some of your best workers were not feeling so cool because they realize that there's something little that is not happening, in their lives. I'll give you a story. These old school groups that contribute to someone, if someone has lost a family or something, they contribute on WhatsApp and then they send it. Okay.
Yeah.
So someone contributed very, very early in the process. And eventually at the end of the whole show, they put it all, the person who was collecting the money put it all together and then sorted everything out, in alphabetic order. Now the person who paid first has a name that starts with Z. And so his name came last. He was apparently upset.
Oh.
That it's making him look like he's the one who paid
But his
last.
ends with a Z.
So you need to be able to appreciate people's different dynamics and things
Wow.
like that. And if you don't know your people, then you might be, somebody. This might not be very critical for you, but for someone, I mean, I don't want my name to come last. So it is almost like because my name starts with Z, like you're always putting me at the bottom.
Yeah, you may think it's a trivial thing, but for that person, it's very important to them.
Absolutely. Because the person has lived his life with his name coming last every time. And sometimes he may even miss things that he could have gotten because his name comes last. And the interesting thing is that most Ghanaians have a name that starts with A. So we all come at the top. So that's what it is. I'm saying that you have to start working on some of these nuances that are in the organization through some of your HR processes to let everyone feel a sense of belonging. We are not here to hurt you. We are here to harness what you can bring to the table for us to be able to deliver.
I mean, one of the questions we received ahead of the program is, how would you handle a situation where a colleague was being culturally insensitive, sexist, racist, or homophobic?
That is very important. That's why you need to have a policy. Because if you have policies, now you can be able to call the colleague and say, in our policy, we are not expected to be racist. We are not expected to be this. Then the HR can start, take the time to either explain to them, give initial warnings, etc., and let the person know that we are taking this seriously. Yeah. Because if you leave it, then other people continue to do that. So, I mean, the human resource departments should be able to take this whole DEI seriously and help to integrate it into their human resource policies.
What would you say is the most difficult part of implementing a DEI program?
The most difficult part is the fact that the people you are implementing it for are the penguins, and they do not want to change. They say change happens best when it comes from the inside. But if the person is already stuck in his ways, he will probably pay lip service, but will not be able to push you to implement. That is the most difficult part. But if you can be able to get the leadership aligned and get the rest of the organization aligned, it makes it easy because everyone is looking out for that.
Okay, I want us to tackle DEI from the hiring process, for instance. How do you eliminate bias?
Yeah, okay. So I'm happy about that because one of the things that DEI helps best with is even the recruitment process. So to eliminate bias, we all have agreed that this is how we appreciate diversity. And therefore, even in the hiring process, it is actually sort of implemented. We can decide as an organization that we will only look at degrees when we have interviewed. We can decide to in fact, sometimes it does not really necessarily eliminate the bias, but the bias has to come in for us to have a diverse organization to say, look, we want to be able to hire people with disabilities as well. So if there are two people on the same scale and there's one person with disability, I'd rather hire him because we already have almost like 100% people who are able. So far as that person can also do the work that we are expecting him to do. We want to have a percentage of 40 female and 60 male at the minimum. So when two people are neck to neck, we'll probably look at the female to be able to come in. So sometimes it's deliberate to make sure that we have that diverse organization, and it's deliberate to make sure that when they come in, you create a situation where they don't feel excluded and therefore decide to leave because I come in and your policies don't allow me to be the person I am, then I have to leave.
I mean, we've been talking about this from the perspective of maybe a business owner or an employer, but for the employer as well, people you're bringing into the company, how do you ensure that they are not going to become like the penguins in the organization? Yeah. So of course, everything starts from when they come in and the orientation process and the onboarding process, because this is something that needs to be voiced out and let people know
this is the kind of organization we have. We are a diverse organization. We respect everyone, the represented and then the least represented as well. And most of those people, the people will appreciate it, especially when they have to join their organizations, sister organizations outside the country, when they get to the point that they are now the minority and not the majority as they were in Ghana here.
Okay, I find this question interesting. It says, how do you counteract comments from leadership such as, we just hire upon with the best person of the job, regardless of gender or race or sexual orientation?
Yeah, so if that's their policy, they'll look for the best. But sometimes you have a policy that indicates that, look, we want to have a percentage of the less represented and then the represented. But most organizations will say that because they want to say it doesn't matter who you are, whether you are 18 years and then you can do the job and you are better at it than anybody else, will hire you. I'll give you a thumbs up.
Is it wrong to think in that sense?
No, I don't think it's wrong to think in that sense. You see, organizations are in for the profit.
Mm-hmm.
They want to get the best, but they said, okay, fine, we promote equity, we promote inclusion. So I would not stop the 20-year-old from being promoted if he's the best among the lot because he's 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, and I'll support him to be able to do the work, and that will make sure that the person who does the best job always gets the work. So the fact that he's working with a 40-year-old and you decide to promote the 40-year-old, your 20-year-old will walk out and find an organization that would accept him.
Don't you risk, for instance, based on that,
yes,
employ maybe just women, because the women you interviewed, they were all they were just best for the job, and so do you have the risk of not being diverse enough, or
okay, that's true. So you see, that's where I brought in the fact that sometimes you create a situation where in our policy we have said that we want to have 40% women or 50% women, 50% men. So sometimes, even though you want to make sure that you have only the best people come in, if there are two people that are neck to neck,
mm-hmm.
you will try and bring in the one with the gender that is less represented because of what you have said in your policy. And you said that also because you know how the two different genders work together to make sure that you can bring value to the organization. So if it's just men or just women, you might not get that same value. So there's a reason for that.
Okay, this may be our last question, and it has to do with unconscious bias. There are people who have stereotypes, and it's just because of their upbringing. It's not because they intentionally or deliberately want to treat people in that sense. So question is, how do you deal with unconscious bias, which are typically as a result of one's upbringing, experiences, and exposure to all forms of media?
Yeah. So the whole thing you're talking about is unconscious. The issue is, how can you make it conscious for people to realize that this is what I've been doing,
mm-hmm.
this is how I do it, and it's not right, to do it that way. So it is to alert people about the less represented people and how they feel when you behave in a certain way. So all those what do you call it, micro attacks that they get because as soon as they walk in a room, everybody is quiet. As soon as they walk,
is that what we call microaggressions?
Microaggression.
Okay.
Absolutely. So you don't see the aggression, but it's there. Because and they feel
subtle.
It's very subtle. Who feels it knows it. And then so basically the best thing is to make it loud, bring it out, let people know that this is what you're doing and this is how the other people feel, and you have to be able to take it out. Just the important thing is let people understand that, look, the lines that divide us is not as strong as the lines that bring us together.
Okay.
So we should actually focus on that.
Our time is up, just when the discussion was getting much more interesting. But I want you to tease what you're going to be talking about next week as we continue this topic on diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Great. So the good thing is that you actually brought the teaser a bit earlier, unconscious bias. So next week we'll look at unconscious bias. We'll look at what it is and how do we get to have that bias and how can we take it out of our system and make sure that we apply it in the organization.
All right. Martin Atta-Fynn, CEO of Afri Consult. Great start to this discussion. It's going to be an interesting month here on the Masterclass. I think I'll be here next week. I have to check with Sarah, my producer. But unconscious bias is what we're going to be talking about.
Yes.
And so grateful you could join us in the studio to discuss this very important topic, especially if you're looking for some level of productivity at your workplace. The Masterclass is brought to you by Gwell Energy, Good Energy Gwell, NRI India. And so Gwell wants you to know that you do not just have to top up anywhere. What do you do when you run out of fuel in your vehicle? Don't just top up anywhere. Don't do that. Let's introduce you to the Good Energy family and why you must be part. Gwell Super XP 195 and Diesel XP are the best quality fuels with high performance in town for your vehicle. Gwell Super XP 195 is a high-grade fuel sold at same price as normal fuel. Gwell Diesel XP is low in sulfur, making it an eco-friendly option for your vehicle. With over 440 stations across the nation, join the family that rewards you with quality for an energized driving experience. Gwell Good Energy Gwell, NRI India. Also, just wanted to remind you that the EcoBank Johnny's Habitat Fair is kickstarting with its first clinic this Friday, 7th to Sunday, 9th of July 2023. So head to the Achimota Mall where it is taking place. Thanks for listening, everyone. Before I go, I just need to give a shout out to my brother Desmond Kwawu, who is listening from the US, Virginia. He just sent a message to say I'm listening to the discussion. And so it's good morning to you in the US. Good afternoon here to us. Thanks for listening. Next week we'll be back. Sammy Forsen will take it over from here. Stay tuned.